Most business owners don't know what a campaign is, and they think posting once or twice about one thing is a campaign. Some people think I don't have money for a campaign. Some people think campaigns are only for these big companies. A campaign is one of the most valuable things you could spend your time developing and executing in the next couple months. It's a secret weapon that big companies use compared to small companies, and it's true. It's one through line that they're pushing for a certain amount of time. It really is a differentiating factor compared to the person that just posts once. I want to welcome you to episode 41 of Everything Entrepreneurship with Kyle Jerome Carter. This is the place, this is the home, this is the podcast for ambitious professionals just like you who are building their dreams in between meetings, after work, and before the sun rises. Today I'm tackling a secret that big businesses use to beat out small businesses. We're talking campaigns and why campaigns are going to beat out content every single time, as well as how you can launch yours within the next couple days. If this is your first time here, I want to introduce myself, but first, you're in the right place. Welcome home. My name is Kyle Jerome Carter, and I left my 9-to-5 in 2019. I've then built a marketing agency where we help businesses grow through strategy and execution. And I now also help ambitious professionals with real lives and real responsibilities build real businesses without burning out. Motivation is not my product, but structure is. If you have not already, get comfortable, hit that subscribe button, because you're in for a great show. I'm here to provide a lot of value. And with that being said, without further ado, let's get into it. Today's topic of campaigns comes because I had many conversations over the last few weeks with business owners that had a really big misunderstanding as to what they actually are and how close a successful campaign could be from them. And the true topic that was scheduled for this week was term I love, marketing, because the same way I had a couple conversations over the last few weeks with business owners, over the last few months and even years, I find how the definition of marketing is different for many people, depending on the experience that they've gone through. And they don't even have to be business owners. If you were to ask 3 different people, you're going to get 3 different answers. Person number 1 might say marketing is posting. Person number 2 might say marketing is billboards. And person number 3 might say marketing is getting leads. And whereas all 3 of those can be considered as aspects of marketing, it isn't necessarily the case. But like I said, that's going to be an episode, if not next week, the week after, where I'm going to break that down so you can take all that, apply it to your business, apply it to your work life, and get your business off the ground or get your business further along, right? But today's conversation is campaigns. Most business owners don't know what a campaign is, or they have a misconception and they think posting once or twice about one thing is a campaign. And in the event they don't make a significant amount of money or money at all from that effort, in their eyes, a campaign failed, when it's not the case. Some people think I don't have money for a campaign. Some people think campaigns are only for these big companies. Some people think campaigns are something foreign and it's just too much work. I don't have time to deal with that. But I'm here to, it's corny, but to debunk those myths. Because you, whether you're working 9-to-5 and you're an entrepreneur employee, or if you have a full-blown business, a campaign is one of the most valuable things you could spend your time developing and executing in the next couple months. And it doesn't take a year. But I prefaced in the beginning of this episode that it's a secret weapon that big companies use compared to small companies, and it's true. They have so much organization, so much intent, so much coordination as to a message, like just one through line that they're pushing for a certain amount of time, whether it's a couple days, couple weeks, or couple months, that it really is a differentiating factor compared to the person that just posts once, right? So with that being said, what is a campaign? A campaign is basically an aim to sell more of a specific product, service, or make people aware of something that's coming. So one of the best ways that I found just last week that I can explain the significance and the effect of a successful campaign compared to just winging it or just posting a few times is the difference between major artists and independent artists. And I'm not talking about independent artists that are making a lot of money. I'm talking about just somebody you know that makes music, opposed to somebody that has a record label backing them, right? A small business, we're going to compare it to an independent artist, and we're going to compare a big business to a major artist, right? So you have just independent artists, and then we have major. Let's just take somebody that everybody knows, like The Weeknd, right? So when it comes time to push or promote their album, what does an independent artist do compared to a major label or major artist? Most times, an independent artist is going to pick based off of a feeling the day that their actual album comes out. And that couldn't be more self-destructive, especially if you're an artist and you put a lot of time into crafting music or crafting songs. And if you're a business and you took a lot of time perfecting your recipe or your product or service, to just do something out of nowhere without any forethought, planning, or anything like that is truly horrible, right? So an independent artist or small business is going to push their album when they feel like it, on a random Tuesday, a random Friday, whatever it might be. It's my birthday, so I'm posting it. Opposed to, how does a major artist look at it? Somebody like The Weeknd is going to be very calculated. They're going to take into account, I want to tour in the summer. And in order to tour in the summer, I need to sell tickets in the spring. And in order to sell tickets in the spring, I want my album out in the winter. So in order to make sure I get the most sales for my my album in the winter, we're going to promote the launch of my album in the fall. So they can make as much money as possible leading up to that tour, and to sell as many albums as possible is much more calculated. And a campaign is very similar. You don't see a major artist like The Weeknd just drop. And now granted, you do have artists that are big enough that can just drop an album. You do have companies, you do have brands, you do have figures in different industries that can just drop a product or service and amass a vast amount of money. But for most people, 90% of people, 90% of businesses, that's not the case. Same for 99% of artists. Unless you're Beyonce, Taylor Swift, Kendrick Lamar, Drake, like those are the people that can literally I just did a surprise album, no lead up, no nothing, no single, no promotion, because I know it's going to do numbers. So let's tie all of this back into a campaign. If The Weeknd is dropping his album on November 1st, he needs plenty of time. I'd say anywhere from 30 to 60 days for an album rollout, meaning September 1st is the launch of the first initial products, the assets, the pictures, the copy, the videos for the album coming out to get excitement up, right? And let's just say pre-orders don't start until October 1st. So you have a month of getting your message out there, promoting the campaign, getting a lot of buzz, getting people excited. And then you have October 1st where you first can start taking money for pre-sales. And then we have November 1st for the actual launch of his album, right? Most people would wait until November 1st to put out their assets, the pictures, the videos, the flyers, whatever it might be. But when you do it properly and you look at a date like September, you're able to see, okay, cool. Our pre-phase, our pre-launch is going to be September, and we have 60 days to lead up to that launch to give them the best chances so that they can make the pre-sales, they can make the most first week sales, and then so on, and get excitement so that they can actually sell out that tour, right? It's easy to understand a music artist because they have one thing that they're promoting and they're finding different ways to tell you about it. The album is the one thing and they're finding different ways to tell you about that album, whether it's behind the scenes, whether it's a single, whether it's a pop-up shop, whether it's anything in or around that album and that artist that they can say different ways across different platforms. I.e., I said different platforms. So it doesn't mean that just because you're on Instagram that they promoted the album coming out on Instagram, they're going to be saying the same message across different platforms. You might see it on print if they put up flyers in different cities. You might get an email blast if you've bought previous tickets. You might see them doing many different things to drive home the one thing that they're pushing. And that's pretty much the lifeblood of a campaign. So if we take it away from that example of actual artists and stuff like that, and we were to bring it back to a business, what does that look like, KJC? Well, I got you. So in creating a campaign, the first thing you want to identify is what the goal is. For this example, we're going to use an electronics business that sells primarily TVs, right? TVs and screens is what they sell. And they want to do a campaign where they're specifically pushing projectors. We're going to call it the projector push campaign. They're pushing projectors, right? The goal has to be, or typically is going to be, what is it that you're selling? Whether it's Is it a specific package that you're putting together? Is it one individual item? Or are you looking at both? Are you looking at all items in or around this projector campaign, from things to fix projectors to the actual projectors themselves? Or are you literally only counting projectors sold? Now, if you know that there's a specific peak month within the year that you do that, let's say peak time is May and you want to roll it out in April, right? Push and project. We now established our goal as of what we're looking at, what we're gauging. But when you determine numbers, it's best to take that from historical data. So if they've been around for a couple of years, how many projectors do they sell in the month of May? What do they do differently? Like, what about those individual pieces that can contribute towards a projector sale? Have they done any upsells? Has there been any sales or any marketing that has pushed a significant amount of projectors? Knowing historical data is huge, but it isn't necessary. As in, like, that's not going to keep you from doing it. But what I'm really getting at is, how do you determine what number you're going after? Are you going to say on a normal month we sell 10 projectors and I want to sell 100? Is that 100 based off of historical data? Is that 100 just a gut feeling? Does the number need to be 50? Does the number need to be 200? Does that number need to be 57? It's not about spending years on this, but rather understanding why you're coming to a number, why you're coming to a goal. That's bigger than most people understand. And because that's so small to some people, they underestimate the importance and significance of a goal. Because many times people will say, this is what I'm focusing on for the campaign, and I just want to sell more. That's cool, but more than what? And if you give a number, why that number? If you don't have any data to base that number off of, pick a number. But is that number going to be something quote unquote realistic? Is it out of the world? Like, it has to be a reason why. So taking your goal into consideration is huge. If you have a bigger company, if you have more moving parts, you might have some KPIs. KPIs being some key performance indicators in or around the projector sales, or if it's that specific department. If it's an electronics store and they also have audio, the KPIs for this campaign might be only around projectors and projector add-ons and stuff like that. Again, in the deep dive, I'll go much deeper with some actual scenarios and stuff like that. But ideally, you really want to make sure you at least have, what is it that can be sold in or around this campaign? What are the packages or package I have specifically for this? And what are the individual items as well as packages that I'm tracking? Basically, you can look at it many ways, but when it comes to your goal or the KPIs, if you can't base it off of past data, are you measuring all individual projectors in this instance? Am I looking at projectors and projector accessories? Am I looking at specific packages I'm putting together? You have to figure that out first. And again, in the deep dive, I'll go much more in depth. After that, you typically want to figure out what's the positioning for the campaign. If we're pushing projectors, what makes these projectors better? Is there anything that makes these great? You're basically developing the through line, the message that's going to be conveyed in many different ways, and why somebody's going to want to get to projectors. Are you educating people on them? Is it a new technology that's coming out? Developing this allows you to not only have clarity as to what you're selling and why, but it also allows you to develop the message that resonates with your clients or consumers, so that you put it out in the market that it can sell more. So you're not guessing. And again, I'm a big stickler for data. If you have past data as to what contributed or the successful purchases, in this instance, projectors, you can also use that and refine that for your messaging, opposed to having to come up from scratch and hoping that it works. You're basing it off of past data that has worked. But regardless, I don't want to overload you. What's your goal? Do you have any KPIs? Is any of this based off of past data? And what's the message that you're going to convey? What's the position? What's the reason for this, right? What's that through line? After that, you're going to want to figure out which marketing levers that you're going to leverage for this campaign. Marketing levers can be stuff like SEO, social media, email, SMS, ads, collaborations, if you do events, all the way to like point of sale, like in-store transactions or scripts or whatever it might be. By identifying which mix of those, and it doesn't always have to be all of them, it doesn't always have to be like 3 or 5, it can be 2, it can be 3, whatever it might be. Typically, to make a campaign work, you want it to be at least 3 different places, to be honest. So if you were to pick email, social media, and ads, those are 3 different places that your campaign, this messaging, this through line can live to contribute towards the purchase of these projectors for this projector push. Once you've identified at least 3 of those levers, that's when you can start to put together the strategy, right? One of the biggest things, I find myself saying the same stuff nowadays. Strategy and execution are huge because those are 2 of the biggest parts that people fail. That's the reason why you can have a great idea, people can be excited, but the strategy isn't built properly, and then execution is where most things fall apart. But we'll get to that. But once you have identified at least 3 of these levers, you can then start to put together a strategy. You can start to say, okay, cool. If I have ads, social media, and email, then this is what we can do. We can make this type of content. We can repurpose this message, this video, this picture on the email. And we can actually take the best performing social media thing that we've had in the past, and we can start that as an ad. We can have different hooks. Like, it goes deep. And I really love campaigns, like truly. And this is the excitement that when I see smaller businesses lean into it, it's really delightful, because big businesses typically have this down to a T, right? So whereas this is new water for most people, which there's nothing wrong with that, there's so much to a campaign opposed to just posting a few times and thinking something didn't work, or calling it a campaign and saying that it didn't work. Again, in my actual deep dive, so that's why you have to subscribe. You have to look forward to this, because I'm actually going to give real scenarios. Right now I'm just talking, right? You can take from this a whole bunch of things. You can apply it today and see results. But I'm going to actually write down and break down examples. That'll be like campaigns for small businesses, and I'm going to make sure I make that the best video on YouTube. But let's continue. Once you have the levers that you're going to be using and you're strategizing how you can show up across these different platforms or services, whatever it might be, with that message, with the through line for the campaign, in this example, the projector push, that's when you could start putting together a timeline. I typically would look at it like week by week, with allowing the opportunity for things to get swapped out for specific events or specific reasons. But that's just the most efficient. So for example, if you're doing social media, having a solid content calendar to say, all right, we're looking at 8 to 10 weeks, and this is what we're doing. Each week's gonna have this many posts, these posts. And again, you wanna develop this out as much as possible, unless one of the weeks specifically needs something from a week that's further on. So if you need something to be posted on week 10 and it's taking content from week 6, obviously you want to build that out as much as possible. So all you have to do is fill that hole or fill that gap when the need arises. But making the timeline is huge, because it puts in front of you, puts it on paper, not just, I mean, technically you can still just put it on your laptop or computer, but write it down. You'd be surprised how much more effective it is writing something down, how much better something sticks. It's truly, there's something to it, right? And one of the other biggest things, one of the other biggest reasons that a small business is gonna fail or not yield the same result when it comes to a campaign, if they're to do everything the same way, except this next part, you'll see why it's just setting yourself up for failure, not even success. Once you have the timeline, once you see how the different levers interact with each other, once you see how you're going to convey that message from different perspectives and different angles throughout the coming weeks or the coming months for the campaign, you have to figure out who's going to do what. Like, identify, this person is going to do this person is going to do that. So many times, and it's not even like just small businesses that are already off the ground, even just people that are starting a business by themselves or with a friend, it's people don't understand the severity of who is going to do what. Oh, we're going to post 10 times, or we're going to get video footage of this, we're going to host an event. Okay, who's providing what? Who is recording? Who is posting? Who is writing? Who is scripting? Who is saying this? Who is showing up? Who? You need to. It doesn't matter if you're by yourself or if you have a team of 10. You have to identify to some extent, this is the first person up, and in the event that person falls through or something happens or they're replaced, this is the next person up. But by getting this information now, because you're here with me, you're here with KJC, and I'm putting you on the right track, then you're able to start to see what a campaign is and what it isn't. If we're doing a projector push and we now have our goal, we have our KPIs, whether it's based off of historic data or just taking into account just what they actually sell like because we've just been in it. We haven't been tracking numbers. We just know what happens. We know the messaging that has worked, or if we've never done it before, we have a couple that we're very confident in. Then we can figure out, okay, cool, across what platforms, what marketing levers are we going to use and pull on? And from that, what type of strategy can we compile? Okay, and then we're going to figure out what's the timeline. If it's 6 weeks, if it's 8 weeks, if it's 12 weeks, if it's 20 weeks, what's going to happen for each one of those weeks and who's responsible for what? Just by doing that, you're already leaps and bounds ahead of 90 to 95, if not 99% of entrepreneurs and business owners that want to push a specific product or service and call it a campaign. Now let's transition over to the person that's listening to this or watching this that works a 9 to 5. They have a business, they're trying to get off the ground. It's digital, they don't have an inventory, whatever it might be. What is a campaign for them and how can they use this? For those of you working, this is what you're going to do. You're going to do the same thing to a lesser extent, right? Because again, I know you got a 9 to 5. And if you watch me, you know how to leverage that, how to use momentum so that your 5 to 9 is used specific to the context of your life. Because again, I know you're a real person with real responsibilities, but as it comes to a campaign, as it comes to being more on it, or just let's say you want to just post on social media, or you are posting on social media, but you want it to be more uniform. You want to have a version of a campaign. This is what you're going to do. First things first, you're going to start with your goal. What is it you're trying to do? What are you trying to measure a significant more of sales from? And it doesn't always have to be sales. It can be an awareness campaign. Are you trying to get signatures? Are you trying to get subscribers? Are you trying to get followers? It doesn't have to be monetary. What is it that is your goal? What is it that you're measuring? Do you have anything in the past that you're going to base this off of? You're going to see that most of this, even if you're working, is going to be pretty similar. But whereas the person that has a business is working 9 to 5, you're also working 9 to 5, but you're working for an employer. You have to start working for yourself as well. So you're going to put aside some time. That's where it starts. You're going to put aside 30 minutes to an hour to figure out what's my goal for this push that I'm going to do. You can call it a content push, but really it's a campaign. You could say, what's my goal? Well, this is my goal, and this is the reason why, and this is what I'm going to count as a success. The KPIs I'm going to use are subscribers. The KPIs I'm going to use are comments. The KPIs, again, the key performance indicators I'm going to use are these packages I'm putting together, the webinar that I'm doing, the school community that I have. Whatever it is that you are doing for your product or service that you're selling, you have to figure it out and lock it in. From that, your own marketing levers. What is it? If you have one message for the campaign that you're about to do, whether it's just a posting campaign for the next 6 weeks or 12 weeks, even if it's for the next 4 weeks, it doesn't matter. Figure out what that one message is. What's the one through line? And what you're going to do now, you're basically going to write out how can you talk about, convey, or show, or educate people about that thing at least in 10 to 12 different ways. Again, a superpower that most people don't have nowadays is thinking. You just need to think about this. Pull out a pen, pull out a piece of paper, and write it down. This is the thing. This is the message we're talking about for your business or product, your product or service. How can you talk about it, convey it, teach it, whatever, 10 to 12 different ways? If you can't come up with 10 to 12, I wouldn't say be reliant on Tony. I call ChatGPT Tony just because, but don't rely on Tony. Use your brain first. And then if anything, use Tony, but now you have to add another 10 based off of that. And the prompt better not be, give me 10 to 12, I'm building a campaign because KJC told me. No, you do need to put some of your own thought into this as well. Tony's supposed to be used to save you some time in doing some tasks and organizing some stuff like that. But that's that next step. After that, you're going to figure out which marketing levers that you're going to use. In this instance, as long as you use 2, you're good. Is it going to be social media? Do you have money? Are you going to spend money on ads? Do you have an email list already? Do you go to events like networking events, whatever it might be, like trade shows? Figure out what your levers are going to be. And then you're going to figure out, this is the message I'm conveying for this campaign. This is what I'm measuring, and this will dictate its success, whether it's based off of past data or not. Now, if I have these 2 marketing levers, how can I convey this across the content or the copy or the messaging for these for the next couple weeks? And you're going to list it out week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5. And you got to do that for each thing. If you have 2 things, let's say you have events, social, and ads, each one of those things for 12 weeks, you're going to write down what you could do. Now, a KJC pro tip for each one of those things, I would say there should be a theme for the week. What's the theme for week one? Week one might be the introduction, reintroduction of yourself and just who you help and stuff like that. Because again, week one should not be the actual launch. It should be the pre-launch. The pre-launch allows you time to get consistent, get in the groove, have some past stuff that people can look at once you launch. So it's not all coming from zero, basically. But one of my pro tips is to figure out what's the theme for each week leading up to the last week. And the last week can be like a reflection or a thank you week or something like that, leading into whatever the next campaign is. And if you're by yourself, then you identify, since you're the one by yourself and you're doing the work, when are you going to get it done? You have to do sometimes a time audit to figure out exactly how much time you do use in your week, especially if you're still working 9 to 5, so you can figure out when you can allocate time to working on this campaign. It's really huge, and people underestimate this because they feel like I can do this if I just put my energy into it. You don't set yourself up for failure, set yourself up for success. And then finally, once you figure out what it is you're doing each week and the time that you're going to apply to do each one of these aspects, whether it's recording content, getting testimonials, writing stuff down, even if you're going to outsource a specific part of the content or whatever it might be to somebody else, make sure it's written down. And then last but not least, you need to execute. Ideally, you want to execute and have a content calendar, or just your assets, the copy, the images, the video, all of that stuff in one place so that's all ready to go. If down to the caption, if you're posting 5 times a week, don't just rest on the fact that you have these 5 videos, 5 carousels, or 5 pictures. You want to have the captions. You want to have the tags. You want to make sure you have the locations. You want to make sure you have the collaboration links ready. Like, this is the level of detail that you want to do. And it isn't meant to overwhelm you. It's meant to raise you to that bar. Because once you're in this enough, you will understand and you realize this is something you can do. This is something that you can work towards. This is something you could profit from. Again, not every campaign, not every goal is going to be financial, but you can profit in it because you said you wanted to do it, you planned it out, and now you're executing it. And because you executed it, because you're consistent, you're now able to yield that result. You're able to make more money. You're able to get these subscribers. You're able to make the connections. You're able to progress further. And that's proof that you are able to do it, especially while you're working. Man, oh man. Campaigns is something else. I'm really excited to do this deep dive because I not only want to use my iPad and my whiteboard, but I like to break this down. Like, what about this? What about that? Questions, scenarios, all that stuff. So if you're not subscribed already, be sure to hit that button to find out when the next video's dropping. But yeah, that's that. Campaigns are huge, you know. Let's transition into everybody's favorite part of the show. What's KJC been up to? So, what you been up to, KJC? Well, today, day of recording, is Sunday, March 7th, my birthday. Today's my birthday, and we going crazy. No, today's my birthday, and I'm working. Most friends, family, oh, what you doing, KJC? Where we going? What we doing? They know me. If it's up to me, if we're all gonna do something, let's go to Barnes Nobles. Let's lock in. Let's get some. Let's work, right? That's just how I am. I'm not one of those people that throws away their birthday like it doesn't matter. It does matter. But I don't need a party. I don't need to do anything crazy. And by no means does that make me better than anybody. But it's my birthday. I'm excited. Working on a lot of big things. Living the life, you know. I always tell people, regardless, as crazy as this world is, no matter where you are in the world right now, like, it doesn't matter if I'm up, if I'm down. My friends and family know. I've said the same thing. I'm blessed. I have the opportunity to go after my dreams every single day so I can provide for my family. And I'm just grateful for that. Things go my way. Things don't go my way. It is what it is. I don't let it eat at me too much. I'm just blessed to have the opportunity. And I'm happy to build consistency with my platform, with this podcast, across the different social media, like showing you not just daily lives, but like other businesses I'm impacting on, like Instagram. I want to write more and do some more native videos for LinkedIn. I'm really excited, you know. I've been talking about these day in the lives, and the same way I'm not perfect, I got to just do it. Got to block out this time. If it's not on your calendar, it's not real to some extent. Um, See, I'm really excited about that. There's a lot of different articles that are out. I did note a couple, but I think I'll go over some articles next week. But I think I've been going long enough. You know, if you made it this far, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I really appreciate the support. Um, you can make a campaign. You don't need, you see, I didn't say anything about spending money to even do anything. Like you have it to do. If you want to spend money, that's another thing. Be sure to look out for the deep dive. But with everything said, I hope you have a good rest of your week. This is Kyle Jerome Carter. I'll see you later.